Verse number 69. Hearing and such as horses yoked, occupied by the self-image, the dexterous psychic dynamism drives the chariot of Rati. Mounted therein, the ego is continuously chasing each pleasing form outside. Commentary. Here we have the classical image of the chariot, which has an important place in Indian iconography. The Sanskrit name given for it here is Ratham. The sound Ra means happiness. Tha means that which holds, conjoins or brings you to something. So Ratham means that which brings you to happiness, or rather is meant to do so. It is a vehicle, a vahana, to carry you to Tha. As an epithet, Tha stands for Kubera, the Lord of wealth. Not just financial wealth, but also wealth in terms of virtues or anything truly valuable. Thus we have the picture of the vehicle that conducts you to the great domain of values. The highest abode of values is the Absolute itself. The body is another kind of vehicle, in the sense of being an instrument to take you to the abode of the highest of all values. This chariot is yoked to the horses of sense interest, like Shruti, what is heard. There is duality involved in the harnessing of your senses. The horses can be either divine or demonic, and life goes on alternating between them. Unless you can transcend the duality of this alternation, you will not be able to ride your chariot to the highest form of happiness, the Absolute. The Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishads relate a story of the gods and demons, the Devas and Asuras, striving for ascendance over each other. First, the Devas revered the pure Udgita, Om, as the breath in the nose, with which sweet smells are discerned and enjoyed. But the Asuras came rushing in and affected the breath in the nose, so that now people smell bad, noxious odors, along with the sweet ones. Since it is with the organ of speech we give the Udgita, the Devas next concentrated there and tried to purify it, but the Asuras had a plan and foiled the attempt. From that day, people have been speaking both truth and untruth. Then the Devas thought, we have to conduct ourselves in this world with our sight. Let us now try to purify it so that we can always walk carefully in the direction where it is always bright and never dark. Again the Asuras entered in, and people started seeing both the bright and the dark. So that plan failed. Next they thought, this isn't working. Let's go to the Shruti, what we hear through our ears. If we can always hear the supreme wisdom and keep ourselves in resonance with it, we won't have any more trouble. But before the Devas could arrive there, the Asuras went and spoiled that too. Now people hear good things and rejoice, but they also hear very bad things that tear their hearts to pieces and cause great disturbance. As we all know, if we hear even one bad word about ourselves, it makes us quite upset. So the Devas thought, what can we do now? We have been trying all these programs with our senses. Let's go to the mind, which controls all the senses. If we can purify that, everything will be all right. But the Asuras arrived before the mind was able to be purified, and now we have depressing thoughts as well as elevating ones. You may direct your reason in the most wonderful way to sublime understandings, but you can also get into fantasies and delusory thoughts that keep you confused. So at last the Devas made up their minds to catch the prana, where the Asuras could not reach it. They looked for such a region and found it in the mouth, the space where the prana is before it enters the nostrils. They concentrated on it, and when the Asuras came there, they were dashed to pieces like clods of earth thrown against a granite rock. So the Devas won the battle in the mouth. This prana inside us has a neutral status. That is why we don't smell good or bad things in the mouth, but only when they come to the nose. Such dualism of the senses is what Narayana Guru is referring to in this verse. Prajapati, the Lord of our manifested individual self, resides in the midst of it, occupying the ratha or vehicle which is on a march in search of the great joys of life. The word pratima is significant here. Prati means corresponding, pratima that which corresponds to the original. A reflection, statue or image is called a pratima. Vedantins give the simile of individuated selves as being akin to the foam on the ocean. When a wave breaks, the froth produced consists of millions of bubbles of various sizes. The sun shining above is reflected by each bubble, the small ones as much as the large. And not only the sun, anything the sun illuminates is also reflected on each bubble. When a bubble bursts, the sun and the world do not disappear. Only their images that were mirrored in that particular bubble are gone forever. You and I are the bubbles which mirror this cosmic show illumined by a sun outside. There is only one supreme sun, but we see millions of suns reflected uniquely in each individual bubble. Each of us has our own sun. This is called a pratima. Thus the self that is in the individual, ratha, is only an image of the Supreme. The question is, how do we relate to that Supreme Self? Again, you can refer to the first chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, which deals with the spiritual aspect of the Word in a complex and symbolic manner. The Word is called Akshara because it is imperishable. On the other hand, the articulated sound we use to pronounce the eternal Word comes and goes. It has a beginning and an end, and is only manifested in the middle part. So the Word is much more than the mere sound symbols we call words. In the seventh khanda, the Chandogya speaks of the I and the soul. That which is in the I is called the shadow of the self. The self that is shining in the I and the self that is shining in the sun are both shadows of the unmanifested self. The two unmanifested aspects are the sun, which reveals the world to you, and the seer in your eye, which sees the world with the light of the sun. They are counterparts, and both of these counterparts are shadows of the Supreme Self. The Antakaranas are the four inner organs: Manas, the interrogative aspect, Chitta, memory, Buddhi, reason and intellect, and Ahankara, ego. There is a certain way in which light comes to manifest by way of the Tanmatras, the five elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Three principles bring this about: Avyakta, Mahatattva, and Ahankara. The first is the state in which there is no differentiation between Prakriti and Purusha, the creative dynamics and the spirit. There is only a primordial unity. This is like the state of which St. John says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." When you don't differentiate between the Word and God, That is the avyakta state. When the word begins to operate, it is called Mahatattva, or the great principle. The supreme principle has a logos, a reason about what and how it is going to manifest. Whatever is going to be brought into existence is not going to be done in a haphazard manner. It comes as a cosmic or universal manifestation of the law. The principle, the meaning, the relationship, the purpose, all these together can be called the reason of manifestation, identified with the Mahatattva. In this buddhi, the intellect has a priority over everything else because it is nearest to the Supreme, in the sense that it brings the light of the Supreme to manifest in everything. Until you come into manifestation, you do not know that you exist. First of all, your organs are put together in your mother's womb. You are not told how your eye is created or how your respiratory apparatus is built up. When you emerge at birth, you don't ask, "Now what?" You cry, "I don't know." Then your mother says, "Don't cry, here is milk for you." She puts her breast in your mouth so you won't cry. It is only later that the questioning aspect of the mind develops. Only when the mind gets disturbed is the affectivity felt by the person, the ahankara. Up to a point, memory is not a conscious function. Rather, it is what might be called habitual choice. As Schrödinger points out, no one has to tell the newborn calf where to look for milk. It just gets up and totters over to the udder, and in no time is contentedly sucking. Who teaches it? Thousands of footprints of previous memories are there. There are memories of whatever the calf is now created out of. Everything that has gone into the calf as a constituent part has these footprints of the repetitive aspects of life. Thus the chittam is both a recalled, consciously recognized memory as well as a reflex, habitual operation. The Atma Pratima, or self-image, is conjoined with the inner organ through the operation of reason. It rides in the Rati Ratham, in the vehicle which is meant to take you to the highest value. It is qualified as a Rati, which corresponds roughly to what in Western psychology is called the libido. The ego, ahanta, is now bracketed and given special emphasis. Actually, ahanta goes with the sense of karanam, or as psychic dynamics, not just as mind. Here it is ramya, that which brings you to a culminating joy. The word comes from rama, that which brings you to absolute happiness. When happiness brings you to a state of absorption, it is called rama. This has two meanings. One is that you can become so infatuated by joy that you forget everything else, including sound reason. It can also be the highest joy of absorption in the Absolute. It can be the worst as well as the best. The catch is in rupam, the form of what seems to you to hold the greatest happiness. You are not discriminating the essence of it. You are just carried away by the outward form. The Guru referred to this in an earlier verse as vativa, a form of knowledge, contrasting it with ariva, pure knowledge. When you give priority to the form and forget the essence, you are misled. Only the appearance is there. From the appearance you judge that something is going to make you happy. But of course it doesn't. You run after a pleasing form, thinking it will give you happiness. But in the end, you turn away with dissatisfaction and frustration. This is a case study of Americanism. After 6 months or a year or two, they say, this doesn't work. They begin by saying, she is the one, or he's got it. But soon they say, I thought so. They are misled by the rupam. When you find no satisfaction in an appearance, you naturally leave it and look for the next, and the next, and the next. You go on chasing such forms, restlessly and persistently. This gives you a picture of what Narayana Guru is representing with this verse. While there are slight differences in their metaphors, in the Katha as well as in the Maitreyi and Munduka Upanishads, there are references to the body as a chariot, with the senses as the horses, the mind as the reins, and the ego as the driver. The Guru has combined what is given in these three Upanishads with the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna holds the horses and Arjuna sits there as master. If you understand all the implications of the principle that for all embodied beings everything, the body, senses, mind, intellect, and so on, is made to seek happiness, it is very appropriate to call these rati. What we seek is happiness indeed, and we are equipped with an instrument that is well suited for this purpose. As long as you remember that the horses harnessed to the instrument are Shruti and the like, there is no possibility for the asuras or demonic forces to mislead you. In this study, we go by the direction of the word of the Guru. The two main principles in this are Shraddha and Vairagya, faith and detachment. Adherence to Shraddha means establishing a bipolarity with this principle of word wisdom, having one-pointed reverence, attention, and acceptance of the essence of the word of the Shastra, the word of the Guru. You may not be seeing a Guru in front of you in the form of a person. For instance, if you have accepted Jesus as your Guru, he is not sitting before you in a physical way, but his word lives in the Gospels. The words in that Shastra are the word of the Guru. You don't see Krishna as such, but when you look into the Gita, the word of the Guru is there in the form of a written document. There again the Shastra stands for the Guru. No matter how the Guru is represented in your life, it should be that guiding light within you, that great power within which can always direct you to the right orientation. Shruti here is most important, but we should also remember that everything connected with the senses is already defeated by our previous dark inclinations, tendencies, experiences, and conditionings. And this makes us always mistake the appearance for reality. It is really a wonderful verse to meditate on. And the free translation of verse 69 is as follows. Our organism can be compared to a libidinal chariot yoked to sense perceptions, which are the horses. It is driven by the mind. Its occupant is the ego, the self-image, which is restlessly pursuing objects of pleasure in vain.